Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, and one part of Spain has again reached the so-called new normal, but more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation. You can see your names here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news, and as I said, the term new normal is being used again here in Spain, at least in one part of the country that is, and the island of Menorca is the only Spanish territory with new normal health data. Menorca can now say loud and clear that it is the Spanish region that is coping best with the pandemic. On the eve of a key week for the expectations of tourist recovery, the island has been clearly distinguished in the latest official report on the main monitoring indicators of COVID-19. As was the case in March, when Menorca was the first territory to overcome the third wave and have new normality parameters in the Ministry of Health's traffic light levels. It is now once again the only area in the country that, at the beginning of June, has the lowest risk levels. And if we have a look at a map of the traffic light system here in Spain, we can see Menorca there in the blue colour, the new normal situation, and the different green alerts, yellow alerts and red alerts around the country. For example, Madrid there in the centre, alert level number 3. So congratulations there to Menorca, the only place currently here in Spain that has that new normal situation, and things are looking good there from a tourism point of view. Now, the mask wearing debate here in Spain is dominating headlines again. As we know, Spain has a mandatory mask rule both indoors and outdoors, and that has been in place for nearly a year. But the Health Ministry is now studying the possibility to make the use of masks outdoors more flexible. The department, headed by Carolina Darias, is studying a reform of the law to make the use of masks in open spaces more flexible, as proposed by autonomous communities such as Castilla-La Mancha. One of the factors in making this decision will be the incidence of the COVID-19 pandemic in each autonomous region. And Spain's Chief Health Officer Fernando Simón anticipates that the mask will no longer be necessary outdoors in June or July. The obligation to always wear a mask outdoors, a measure whose usefulness against the coronavirus is questioned by scientific reports, will soon be a thing of the past. Barring a turnaround in the epidemiological situation, which continues to improve thanks to the rate of vaccination and the decline in infections, it will be a matter of a few weeks. Fernando Simón does believe that the time has come to address when and how it will be no longer necessary to wear the mask outdoors, as long as distance is respected. His opinion is that in just over a month's time, it will be no longer necessary. So finally, it seems that common sense is going to prevail when it comes to wearing masks outside. And I, for one, am extremely happy about that. Now, the controversial AstraZeneca vaccine is continuing to make headlines. As we know, the government is recommending against people being vaccinated with their second dose of AstraZeneca, telling people that it's better to use Pfizer, and many people believe that this is because there is a shortage of AstraZeneca in the country and the government can't get its hand on enough doses for everyone. But Fernando Simón also spoke about this yesterday and gave his opinion on the matter, and according to him, AstraZeneca here in Spain has been exploited by politicians, the media and lobby groups. The health department recommended that those under 60 who were vaccinated with AstraZeneca's first dose should use Pfizer's second dose. As Fernando Simón said, it is more effective than AstraZeneca in older people. However, most people have decided to take AstraZeneca's second dose, which is why Fernando Simón wanted to blame what is happening not on the ministry itself, but on other culprits. It has been exploited by political groups. It has been exploited by lobbies that have interests on one side or the other. It has been exploited by the media that may have a certain editorial position. They may even have certain sponsors. It has been exploited by many parties with different interests. So according to Mr. Simón, there are hidden interests behind why people are choosing AstraZeneca over Pfizer. And it seems that the government just doesn't want to admit that the reason why people are choosing AstraZeneca over Pfizer is that the government has handled this situation badly from the beginning, and basically nobody trusts them anymore. So lots of talk about the AstraZeneca vaccine, lots of talk about the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, the Janssen vaccine, but what about Spain's own vaccine? Well, Spain hopes to have its vaccine ready between the end of this year and early 2022. Researchers working on the research and development of the Spanish coronavirus vaccine are confident that it will be finalized between the end of this year and early 2022. In Europe, 4 vaccines have been approved by regulatory bodies and are already in use. Pfizer Biotech, Moderna, Janssen and AstraZeneca. In addition to these, there are others circulating in the world, for example, Russian, Chinese, Indian or Cuban vaccines. At this point, the question that arises is when Spain will be in a position to have its own coronavirus vaccine. In this respect, several projects in Spanish laboratories are likely to be successful in the short term. So some good news there that the Spanish vaccine will be ready sometime between the end of the year and early 2022. And to be honest, I'm surprised we don't have access to the Cuban vaccine here in Spain. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation in Spain, starting with the incidence rate over the last 14 days, now sitting at 121. Cases are down 17% on previous data. There are currently 4,858 people hospitalised with COVID around the country, and there are 1,347 COVID patients in ICUs. When it comes to the vaccination campaign, we can see that 19.43% of the population have completed their vaccinations, or in other words, 9.2 million people, and 38% of the population have received at least one dose, just over 18 million people. Now, it's starting to become clear what travel between European Union countries will look like this year, and yesterday Brussels called on the EU27 to start phasing out travel restrictions within the EU. The European Commission on Monday called on the EU27 to begin a gradual withdrawal of all restrictions on travellers moving between member states, saying that the epidemiological situation and the pace of vaccination in the European Union as a whole allow such a relaxation to be envisaged in the run-up to the summer. Europeans should enjoy a safe and peaceful summer. As vaccination progresses, we propose to gradually relax travel measures in coordination with the EU's COVID digital certificate. EU Chief Executive Ursula von der Leyen wrote on Twitter, believing that this system will give clarity and predictability to Europeans while regaining the freedom to travel. So a clear message there from Ms. von der Leyen: start phasing out travel restrictions in the European Union. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Sean: can't they just take your number and data over the phone and put it into the system? Yeah, Sean, thanks for the comment. Obviously related to that bureaucratic wall that I came up against yesterday trying to get my app registered. The first phone number that I called couldn't do what you suggested there, put the data into the machine. I could have just given them my phone number and it could have finished right there and then, but that wasn't the case. I had to make 2 or 3 more phone calls that day to get my phone number entered into the system. But the good news is that I did manage to get it done, but it took a little bit longer than expected. So I should be getting my SMS this week telling me that my vaccination is ready if all goes according to plan. One here from Phil: Ola Stewart, we decided we were going to travel to Spain even if it was still on the amber list. We were prepared to take a PCR test and isolate for 10 days on our return to the UK. Unfortunately, if we travel against the advice of government, our travel insurance is not valid. We are due to travel on July the 3rd, but it's looking unlikely that Spain will be on the green list. Yeah, Phil, thanks for the comment. I have read other comments from people telling me that travel insurance is the big issue for them as well, and it does seem that it is something that is putting people off travelling to amber list countries. Obviously, there's going to be a few people that decide to travel without insurance. Take that risk if you like, hope that nothing goes wrong, but for others, obviously, the risk is not worth it. And when it comes to the green list, not sure what's happening there. I think there's going to be a revision to the green list in the near future, and I know that Spain is hoping to get on the green list, or at least a couple of parts of Spain. I know the government is pushing for the Balearic Islands. I know the government is pushing for the Canary Islands to get on that green list, and as we saw earlier, one of the Balearic Islands, Menorca, is the only place here in Spain at the moment with that new normal and an incidence rate currently of only 15. But as we also saw on that map that I showed earlier, there are still some high risk areas around the country, for example Madrid, and that is keeping the country-wide incidence rate high. So it is looking unlikely that mainland Spain will make the green list in the next review. One here from Sam: great video again. I'm looking forward to travelling to Spain this summer, and this certainly makes the barriers in the way all worthwhile. The prospect of spending another summer in the UK on the so-called lovely beaches you talked about being mentioned in the comments does not sound lovely to me. España, here I come. And another comment on beaches in the UK from Makish: beaches in the UK are god-awful. Why would anyone say they are any good? There's pebble beaches everywhere. By the way, congrats on the 50k subs, mate. So thanks, Sam and Makish, for those comments and your opinions on beaches in the UK. I mentioned a comment yesterday in which somebody said that they were planning on having a holiday in the UK, going to one of those magnificent beaches around the country. And I'm not going to say that there aren't some lovely beaches in the United Kingdom, but when you come from Australia and you've lived in Spain for the last 20 years, the idea that I have of what a good beach is probably different to some people in the UK. But the big difference for me would be the weather. In places like Alicante, Valencia, Almeria, Malaga, Cádiz, you get guaranteed good weather in June, July, August, September even, whereas in the UK, as we know, the weather can be a little bit hit and miss, or at least that was my experience living there for 2 years. In fact, I remember a trip to the beach in August back in the early 90s, and I didn't see any sun for 2 weeks. But that was just my personal experience. One here from Jim. Hi Stuart, I live in Valencia and I'm getting the Janssen vaccine tomorrow. I'm 52. They had my number. Good luck with that. Great information. You've always kept me up to date during these crazy times. Thanks. Yeah, Jim, thanks for the comment, and good to see that you are getting your vaccination today. The Janssen vaccine, you only need 1 dose of that, so you have completed your vaccination and you join the other 9.2 million people in the same situation. And hopefully, as I said, I will soon be joining you. But in my case, I don't think it's going to be with Janssen. I think Moderna and Pfizer are the ones they are using here in Madrid, so that means that I'm going to have a second dose sometime also in the near future. One here from JMG. Enhorabuena por tus 50,000 suscriptores, Stuart. Ojalá pronto tengas 100,000. Te lo mereces, tío. Yeah, JMG, thanks for the comment and for the mini Spanish lesson, congratulating me on the fact that I have reached 50,000 subscribers on this channel, something that I didn't think would ever happen, and it certainly is a milestone. And thanks to everyone else who also congratulated me on reaching that figure. And 100,000 in the future, to be honest, I don't think I'll last that long. One here from Paul. I looked at yesterday's comments and most were negative with regards to Spain, but you choose to ignore all of them and only mention the positive ones. Why is that? Yeah, Paul, thanks for the comment, and the answer is simple. I try to avoid excess negativity in my life. I see the comments. I don't necessarily agree with the comments. Lots of people the other day were Spain bashing, which unfortunately is part of this channel. It seems that some topics act as a trigger for some people. And then we get people that start to criticize England and the insults go back and forth. I've seen it happen before on other videos that I've done. I did a video a few years ago on Spain and Portugal where I compared the two countries, and that turned into a virtual war between the two countries in the comment section. But it's not every day, and it's not the majority of the comments. The majority, I feel, are positive comments, and those are the ones that I like to focus on in this part of the video, and also comments that are going to help other people take decisions on certain things. One here from Therese, 50,000, enhorabuena. My husband and I are headed to Spain this weekend from the US. We are so grateful for your daily podcasts. You keep us all up to date on Spanish events in such a neutral and succinct format. Hope you get your phone number and vaccination situation solved soon so you can enjoy some well-deserved travel as well. Otra vez, muchísimas gracias. Yeah, Therese, thanks for the comment, and good to see that you and your husband are headed to Spain this weekend. I've also seen quite a few other comments from people from the US also saying that they're heading to Spain soon. We saw one the other day from somebody who was heading to Granada. So good to see that finally people in North America are heading back to Spain. And I'm also looking forward to traveling soon. Hopefully I'll have my vaccinations completed before then, and that will make it easier for me to get around. And finally, one here from Property Buyer Spain Costa Blanca. Maybe Stuart, being 45, you are too young for your jab. Andrew. Yeah, Andrew, thanks for the comment and thanks for the compliment. Unfortunately, I'm not 45 anymore. I'm over 50. I'm 52 years of age, and I fall into that 50 to 59 age bracket here in Spain. But the good news for the under 50s is that vaccination has started with that age group in some autonomous communities around the country, and here in Madrid, it is going to start next week. And the Health Ministry also announced this week that they are expecting a record amount of COVID-19 vaccines to enter the country. So vaccination moving along very quickly here in Spain at the moment. On that note, I'll start the wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.